Hey up guys, what's going on and welcome back to Hertha Berlin. This is part 2 and I thought I'd start with the transfers. We will be playing a match later on and spoilers, it is not a cup final. We were knocked out of the Pokal by Bayern Munich in an early round. We didn't get quite such a lucky run this time. We did make the semis of the Champions League though, quite surprisingly. We did knock out PSG to get there, but Man City did us in. I'll bring you a little bit more detail on that a little bit later on. But we are playing the final game of the Bundesliga, and there's still things to play for. But first and foremost, the ins and the outs for this year, because let's be honest, part of this challenge is finances, and we've basically broken even on the transfers this year. Bringing players in was a mighty brain challenge. Didn't really help myself there by saying the words brain challenge. But yeah, it was a massive technical decision, and it's essentially trying to work out which players are value for money, which players you are going to get your money's worth out of at the end of the season, which players are going to get you that extra place, that extra 20 million perhaps. I think that's the difference between position 1 and position 2. So which of those players are going to get you through another round of the Champions League and get you perhaps another 8 million or whatever that stage gets you. Who's going to pay you back in that. But on the outs, basically, we'll start with the outs though. First and foremost was Andre Duda, who went to Everton for just over 10 million. I'll be real, he's probably worth more than that, but we just didn't play his position. He's an attacking midfielder and we just don't do that. Did do Mazzala fairly well, he was fairly comfortable with that, but we did have a young player coming through in that position anyway. And this lad, Andre Hertha, did it better. Also could provide inside forward protection on that right hand side if I needed that coverage. So really that was like for like, and Andre Hertha was a lot less wages than Duda as well. I think he was on one of the higher wages in the club. I can't quite remember now, if I'm honest. Serovic, youngster, Bayern paid me 2.5 million for that. I've literally just actually clicked on the sell-on clause for another 2.5 million. Yeah, that's a little bit cheesing it, because obviously this challenge ends in, a couple of weeks or whatever, so the sell-on was probably never going to happen anyway, but it's 5 million total for a young player who was never going to feature. Kuna was basically just getting wages. He was on 50 grand a week, which is far too much for a player who looks like this. Gunter, another youngster. Baumeister, not sure, probably, I think he might be another youngster. Skelbred was the advanced transfer from last year, which finally went through, and then a bunch of loans for players who were never going to play for me. Boyata would have been in and out of the team, but they were paying his full wages, the full 38k a week, so it's like, fine, fair enough. Last time we brought in Reece Oxford for 20 grand a week less to cover him. We did something similar this year, and Dilrosun just plays in a position that we don't really use. He's not very good. He's left-footed on the left-hand side. He's not very good as an inside forward on the other side yet, and Werder wanted him for his full wages plus a monthly fee, so not going to say no to that. In terms of the other ins, now we just talked about Andre Hertha. He's very, very solid, and he's very good, and he's getting better all the time. 13.5k a week, this is what I'm talking about. He's on less money per week than Duda was on, and we signed him for 1 million-ish less than Duda was sold for, so kind of all works out. I'm going to move to the frees, because the two frees I mentioned at the end of last year were Junior Casera, who is a better right-back than anything we had already. He's 32, still very good physically though. 16 on both, 16 on acceleration, 13 on pace, 16 stamina, 19 natural fitness. Going to last a long while on that front. Great mentals, great technicals as well. Not the best tackler, but very good going forward, which is what I like. The perfect complement to Platinato on the opposite side is what I feel like there. The other one was Antonio Dan, who is obviously Atletico's backup keeper, and I brought him in as a first choice keeper. And then as soon as the Champions League group stage was drawn and we got a tough group, I suddenly had a thought, I'm in the Champions League and I'm using Atletico's backup keeper. There's a reason why he's backup, and that's admittedly Jan Oblak, but we could probably do better and we probably need better, which is where the first of those, is this value for money, kind of crept in, and that was the answer was Esteban Andrada from Boca. The Argentine league isn't loaded in, but the main clubs still have their main players, and Andrada is one of them. He's valued at 10.5 million now. We paid £2 million up front and 2 million over time, with 2 million after 50 league appearances, which was never going to happen because we're in the second year. Can only max out at 38. Yeah, that's a little bit cheating. I do understand that, but it's all part of the challenge. I really probably should have loaded Andre Hertha's 50 league appearances a little bit more, but never mind. Yeah, Andrada is now our first choice. Adam wasn't pleased with that, if I'm honest, by about December, and he wasn't playing, but never mind. He's a great goalkeeper. Well worth the money if you're in this kind of position. If you're a team like this and you've got 4 million to spare, get Andrada in because he's very, very good. The next one was Sigali, who was pretty much the same deal. 2 million up front, 2 million over time, 2 million for 50 appearances. He was sort of the step in for the Boyata loan out. 15k per week, so it's 23 grand less per week than Boyata was on. Yes, we paid 2 million up front for him, so that kind of balances out a little bit, but he is a little bit better than Boyata in my opinion. Also a little bit better on his left foot, which he didn't really have a lot of cover for in terms of Rekic. I thought he was going to be better than Rekic, and bear in mind when we signed him, his physicals were actually a bit better as well. He's 33 now, so his physicals were about 14, maybe 15 on some of them. So he has slipped off a little bit, but he's still very, very good actually. 2.5 star, great mentals, great technicals, does what you need from him, and he's a little bit ball playing as well. 12 passing, 12 technique, which is what I like. Gelson Fernandes was basically brought in on the basis that I thought I didn't have a second ball winning midfielder. Turns out that's what Toussaint is. Toussaint is my biggest regret in this entire challenge, not being able to get rid of him. Yeah, he's 80 grand a week. He's not worth 80 grand a week when the Saskabar is better than him to start with and on way less money. Gelson Fernandes we brought in, and as soon as I realised in January, well actually this loan out actually happened in December, but his physicals went off a little bit. He did have 18 natural fitness. I thought his physicals were going to stay on. They were over 10 when we signed him. But yeah, great mentals, good physicals. He came in on a free on 15k a week to play backup to Saskabar in the hope that we would get rid of Toussaint. We didn't get rid of Toussaint. Still didn't get rid of him in January, annoyingly. But yeah, so then we loaned him straight out to Apoel basically later in the year when he wasn't playing so much. And the rest of the loans are basically just all the youngsters from the Premier League. Curtis Jones came in to play on the inverted winger left-hand side because Terrier is he is actually prone to injuries. He's one of the few injury-prone players I've seen that are injury-prone. Troy Parrott we brought in as a backup striker because obviously we got rid of Kuna. 10 grand a week for him. James Garner we brought back in, of course. He was here last year, 27 grand a week. It's a little bit much, but the quality he brings is worth it. Mason Greenwood we also brought in as a backup. Really, actually, he's a backup inside forward on the right-hand side. That's what he plays for is England on my York save, so I know he can do it. But also, he was initially brought in as the backup striker, and then I realised Troy Parrott was still available and got him as well. So Mason Greenwood was mainly played as the inside forward on the right, backup when Luca Bacchio's not in the team. Yeah, I didn't realise after the transfer window ended, I didn't have an actual inside forward there. And then Gravelon, essentially another cover defender. 1.2 grand a week. I'm not sure we're actually paying anything for him. So essentially that's a free hit for a 5th choice central defender if we needed it. Gravelon was the initial reaction to Boyata, and then I realised we could maybe actually improve Rekic, and that's what Sigali's idea was. Not quite. They're sort of similar levels. And at this stage of the season, we've actually slipped off a little bit. Bayer Leverkusen must have developed some players, or bought some players in January, that have since developed, because we were 5-1 at the start of this year. And we were 5-1 at the end of January, so I don't know what's happened here. We're now 7. And in terms of our season, we started well by actually holding Bayern to a 0-0 and winning the penalty shootout in the Super Cup. Spoilers, by the way, we've still not beaten them at any point. We've still not beaten them. That's the only time we've drawn with them. But the Pokal started with a 6-0 demolition. Freiburg, we edged 3-2. I say edged. We scored 3 goals earlier, and then we just took a foot off the gas in the last 20 minutes or so, and they got 2 back in. Then we got Leipzig again, who we edged 1-0, and then that was followed by Bayern Munich, who we lost to, despite the fact they had Thomas Muller sent off, so it wasn't great. Champions League group, we'll bring the group up. Our group was Madrid, Milan, and Zenit. Poor Zenit, by the way. And it was basically decided in the second game. We lost to Real Madrid in the first match, and I thought, oh god. But then we did Milan in Milan, and suddenly things looked a little bit brighter. 3-0 against Zenit at home, 4-1 away. 1-1 with Madrid in the 5th match, where Hazard got a 91st minute equaliser. It was nearly sealed and sorted then. We also then drew with Milan in the final match at home, which meant we finished 2nd. And this is how the knockout stages progressed. PSG with a 5-0 aggregate over Barcelona, by the way. Pretty good. Madrid, I have to say, Real Madrid's run is probably the hardest of all of them. Had to get past Liverpool, had to get past Chelsea, had to get past Borussia Dortmund. I say that, 6-2 aggregate over Chelsea. But we got past Arsenal in the first knockout round. It was 1-0 at home and 1-1 away from home. Just about edged it. And then 3-1 away at PSG and a 2-1 home victory saw us past them. That's the most surprising result of the entire season, if I'm honest. 3-1 in Paris. I said that I did beat PSG with Southampton 2-1 on my stream save in Paris. Then immediately lost to Huddersfield. Football Manager. But we came unstuck against Manchester City, which has set up a Manchester City and Real Madrid final. But in terms of the Bundesliga, we actually didn't lose for quite a while. Our first loss was Hoffenheim away from home. And at that point in time, I think we had 17 to 18 matches unbeaten in the Bundesliga, including the last season end of. So it was looking pretty good for quite a while there, and then that happened. We did then bounce back by winning the Bundesliga matches pretty much all the way through to December, 7-2 against Hanover. Yep, that happened. But then Borussia Mönchengladbach took us in the 95th minute. In January, Bayern Munich, of course, turned up again and ruined our time. Köln we drew 1-1 with, but the back end of our season has been pretty good apart from Bayern and Borussia Gladbach. And that's helpful, because Bayern Munich, certainly at the point where they beat us 3-1 there, were unbeaten in the league. And indeed, did stay unbeaten until they faced Bayer Leverkusen at the very, very end of February. Now, you've got to factor in an insane amount of games in here. Finally came unstuck, 0-0 against Atalanta. You could probably suspect tired legs factoring in here and eventually succumbing to Leverkusen, who of course are a very handy side. But bounce back in the league, Eintracht Frankfurt did them in as well, Andre Silva getting them. And then most recently, and most interestingly, a draw with Leipzig also helped our situation. Dortmund, by the way, this Dortmund match, I thought this might be the one where I thought this might be a match where we could get back into things because we were still behind them at this stage. An 89th minute for Bayern gone past Dortmund there. And I was like, oh, God. But, yep, Köln. You might be thinking, Köln? Really? Bear in mind, we drew with them away as well. They're a very good side. They're fourth and guaranteed fourth. The Champions League spaces were all sorted with 3 games to go. Such was the gap. It was kind of interesting that. Or 2 games to go. You can see a name here again. He's continued. 14 assists for Plattenhardt in the league. He's still insanely good. And I'm super mad he's not being picked up in the Streamer Showdown. Just going to say that. Because he is the best fullback in the entire division. 2 years in a row. But because of that Köln loss, we're now 2 points ahead of them with 1 match to go. If Bayern win their final match and we don't win ours, they will go ahead of us. No matter what it is, because their goal difference is better. If we draw, they'll go ahead of us. If we lose, they'll go ahead of us, obviously, just on points. We need to win if Bayern are winning. Now, they can draw and we can lose, that's fine. But if they're winning their final match, then we need to win this. We play Augsburg, who have nothing to play for, in 13th. But we know what happens when that happens, so, don't just count it off right now. Bayern play Hoffenheim, of course, were the team that we first lost to. Although they've not had a great season, 38 points. Wolfsburg, I have no idea what happened to. They didn't win for, 20 games. We are super favourites. Our form is inconsistent, which isn't great. But those 2 losses are the Man City losses, by the way. We lost 3-0 and 1-0. I didn't actually say it out loud, but we actually lost better at home than we did away, which makes no sense. We lost 3-0 at home and then lost 1-0 at Man City. Don't know why we were better there than we were at home, but never mind. And final game of the season. And the good news is, in terms of, well, if this was a long-term stay, that'd be great news. Hertha Berlin is a great youth team. Our youth intakes both years have had 4-star players in at least more than 2 both years. So, and that's why we obviously keep getting them post-office. But Luka Netz has come through this year. He's been a solid backup to Plattenhardt, and Samadic has played sometimes in that Marzala role, which is the reason why I didn't really decide to keep Duda as well as Hertha, because Maya can do it fine and Samadic can do it fine as well, obviously. But this year, Fischer's been a lot better in general. Piatek has 16 goals. Luka Bacchio has 16 goals. Fischer has 9. Terrier has been a lot more injury prone this year. Not had a great year. Mostly off the bench appearances have kept his average to about 6.8. Curtis Jones, again, sort of similar area, but he's injured for this last one, which is a bit of a shame almost. But the team lines up with Andrada in goal, Plattenhardt, Rekic, Stark and Junior. Casera, I'm going to presume it's meant to be pronounced Kaisera. Saskabar, Maya and Hertha in the middle. Fischer, Luka Bacchio and Piatek up front. So it's not really all that much change, and I don't know why Adan isn't my backup goalkeeper. This has taken a very long time to warm up. Now, bear in mind the challenge is both finishing position and financial based in terms of the points scored. I should mention, by the way, the day this goes up on YouTube is the deadline for it. So if you wanted to join in and actually be counted, then probably tough. Sorry. Kind of forgot to mention in the first part. If you just want to play it anyway, I'm sure the links will still be available at some point. We can clinch the title with, of course, win and nothing else matters. Win doesn't matter what Bayern does. Draw and we're looking over our shoulders. Half of the first half have gone and no highlights for us and no goals for Bayern Munich either, seemingly. I mean, this is a thrilling way to finish the season. I'm so glad I decided to bring you the last match and just not play for Plattenhardt. Oh, what? Right, that kind of glitched out a bit. But we get to see again in proper 3D. Plattenhardt here whips the ball in. Rekic, 7th goal of the season. Can you see why Plattenhardt gets the assist now? Rekic has 7 goals, mostly from set pieces. I noticed actually, just then, Koeman has scored in the 43rd minute as well. Hoffenheim had a player sent off, so yes, we definitely probably need to win this because there's not really that much of a chance of Hoffenheim getting back into it. Poor Freiburg, they've been the whipping boys all season. Paderborn, by the way, great season from them. Of course, pretty much nailed on for relegation in terms of the ratings in the first year. They've survived the first year and they've done very well this second year. Things are going well, but you're capable of even better. Now, once this match is over, I will have to just keep clicking through until the playoff final has been sorted between the relegated side and the team coming up, because that's when the challenge officially ends, and that's when I'll show you the financials and all that jazz. Gouvelou, please do not do things against me here. Asta. We've already got next year's budgets, by the way. Not that they matter, but just for those curious, it's 1.1 million per week, which is about 300 grand more than what we're paying right now, and 200, 300-ish, and 74 million. Bear in mind, at this stage of the game, we've got about 35 million in the bank before all the sponsorship and... Good God, that heart and mouth moment there. Before the sponsorship and prize money comes through. Plattenhardt did take a knock, but he seems to be okay. Thankfully. Piatek on 6.4. It's not a good moment for him to not perform. In terms of goal scoring, I've not brought it this time up, but it's been a similar situation, but not quite as dramatic, actually. Sorry, I've just seen Lukebakio's taken a knock. It's about a quarter of our goals this year, opposed to a third, have been in the last 15 minutes. The last 15 of the first half seems to be more prolific for us this year. I'm going to bring Parrott on because Piatek on a 6.4 is not brilliant. Just going to bring them both on. Obviously, Lukebakio taking a knock in the final game is not the worst situation, but 1-0. This is so tense. 1-0. Oh, no. Hang on. Oh, no, it's our side. It's our game. Hertha. If he's onside, which it doesn't look he is because the camera's focused on the human being in the blue in the middle there, I feel like I'm a little bit zoomed out for some reason. Yeah, he was offside. I don't know why you can be possibly offside at a free kick because it's not difficult to stay behind the men there. James Garner can come on from Maya as well. Just a little bit tired and there's about 5 minutes to go, probably including injury time there. How are Bayern doing, by the way? 3-0. I didn't put the scores up on the side as soon as Bayern scored and they were... Never mind. I got interrupted the line. What? Hang on. We've got an invader here. There's a pitch invader. Get off the pitch. You're going to be in the pitches, mate. Get off the pitch. There I am. I mean, they didn't... I may not have been outwardly panicking all that much, seemingly. I mean, I was towards the end there, but 1 goal margin when you need to definitely win and the stats were sort of very even. It wasn't a lot of highlights as well, which worried me because that's the ones that tend to sucker punch you at the end, I find. Because when there's not the highlights tend to matter more. And, well, there we are. Just wandering around. Can I actually see the pitch? There we are, just wandering around in front of the... Why don't you just leave? I'll never understand that. Passionately say, well done. Bayern being back this year was massive. They had a very, very rubbish start to the season last year. They did recover quite well, it's got to be said, last year, but they had a horrible start to the season last year, and then they never really properly recovered, but they did get back into, like, I think it was third, wasn't it? But yeah, they were a solid 11 points behind. They had 7 losses, and most of them happened at the beginning of the year. This year, no such problems. We did briefly take it from them, but yeah, after that point, they just won, and then the wheels came off there slightly. That, if you're a Bayern Munich fan, you would hate that. Oh no, Hanover just got relegated. Well, they were in the playoff bit on the last second. Wolfsburg just saved themselves they had a horrible season, by the way. I didn't even see that. That's huge, because Wolfsburg and Hanover aren't too far apart. I suspect they're rivals. I've been to Hanover. They're sort of my German team, but I've been to Hanover twice in the past, and I have a soft spot for Wolfsburg as well, because we visited Wolfsburg, but I suspect because of their proximity, they're probably reasonable rivals. Hang on, we do a double... Oh, Super Cup. Yeah, sorry. Forgot about the Super Cup. Hertha Berlin to receive 93 million, basically. Thank you, FC Köln, by the way. That's entirely your doing, almost. I mean, they'd nicked 2 points off us, but they'd nicked 3 off Bayern when it really mattered. And yeah, the difference is about 13... It's 12.5 million, basically. It's 12.5 million pounds is the difference. I suspect that's a little bit more even in euros. But that was the difference that final win made, basically. 12.5 million pounds. I mean, we've got to wait for the rest of it, but end of season awards, Maya actually top of this one. Not Platinum this time round. Hertha signed the season, Maya on the lower bit. Just thought I'd let you know, some people thought it was too ambitious that we get back in the Euro Cup next year. Let's not forget we are still in the top 4 on the season preview and we've just won it twice in a row. People are idiots. Platinum actually broke his assist record last year. 16. We'll get to the players in a second. Maya actually had 6 Player of the Match awards, which does explain a lot. Bayern retain the cup. Well done, Esteban. Well done. So I guess this is the reason for it. The collected bonus payout happens, of course, at the end. So, the final balance is thus £134 million in the bank. 77 transfer budget, if that mattered, but quite the profit. Actually, where does the rest of it come from? Or just prize money from somewhere else? In terms of the debts and loans, it looks like this. They didn't pay any of it off. Technically, we're still just in debt as well, but it's manageable. But of course, we want to have a look at the stats real quick. And Arnie Meyer is actually our top performer in the end. 7.38 for him this year. No injuries, I don't think. Played 42 games. Very, very consistent. 9 goals for him. 5 assists. Pass rate, amongst the highest, I'd probably say. Just very, very solid game in, game out. Mason Greenwood had a very good average when he was playing. Luka Netz, when he played, had a very good ratio as well. 1 goal, 2 assists in 7 starts. Not bad, not great, not awful. Nicholas Stark, once again, 7.3, 48 appearances, 57 mistakes. Slightly higher this year. Plattenhart, 7.3 though, still there. 2 goals, actually scored this year, by the way. He actually scored. I was so happy for him. 16 assists. 16. Unbelievable, really. Rekic, very good as well, 7.2 from him, 38 games started for him. Hertha, very good as well, 8 goals from that midfield role, 6 assists for him. Luka Bacchio has 16 goals with 6 assists. Piatek, 16 goals with 2. Garner, 2 and 2. Not the greatest output in terms of actual stats for Garner, but he actually had one of the better tackle numbers in the team, which is surprising for the playmaker. But never mind. The backup right back, whose name I'm not going to try and say because I will make the mistake. No goals, 2 assists for him. Played 14 games though. I would have liked a little bit more from my right-hand side. Casera, 1 goal, 3 assists. It's not brilliant, but Victor Fischer this year is so much better than he was last year. 9 goals, 11 assists. Between Plattenhardt and Fischer, who are obviously first-choice left-sided players, 27 assists from that side. Fantastic numbers, 4 from Terry as well. 7 goals for him in only 10 starts, which is quite good going, let's be honest. A lot of little injuries took him out in the early season, and that just basically made Fischer first choice. Even when Terry was back and then not injured, Fischer still took first choice there. 18 clean sheets for Andrade. It's not the best. 3 from Adan when he played as well. He sort of came in the cups for the most part in the end. Jarstein played 1 at one point and got a clean sheet as well. So, good going. That might have been the first game. That might have been the 6-0 Pokal. But that's that from Hertha Berlin. I've just noticed on the final day, Plattenhardt sneaks into 3rd in the average ratings for the Bundesliga. Clearly didn't perform quite as well in Europe or whatever to get the average rating a little bit lower overall, but 7.4 in the Bundesliga, 15 of those 16 assists here as well. So it's good. And Andrade just sneaks in the very end as well, in 3rd in the clean sheet list as well. You love to see it, that final 1-0 win in there. That's great news. But that's it. That's it from Hertha Berlin. That's it. Thank you for joining this. Of course, normal service will resume on Monday with York again. Hell of an exciting finish to that season ahead of us there. So until then, ta-ra.